All right, let's dive into one of the biggest, most important legal showdowns in the history of tech. We're talking about Oracle versus Google. And that's not an exaggeration. I mean, this was way more than just some squabble over a few lines of code. This was a fight that would literally shape the future of software, with billions, yes, billions, of dollars on the line, and the fate of the entire mobile world hanging in the balance.
So in this corner, you've got Oracle, a true titan in the software world, known for being incredibly protective of its intellectual property. And in the other corner, Google, the powerhouse behind Android, the operating system on most of the world's phones.
So here's what went down. Back in 2010, Oracle drops a bombshell lawsuit on Google. The charge that Google straight up stole a key part of the Java programming language to build its Android operating system. See, Oracle had just bought Sun Microsystems, the folks who created Java, and they felt Google had built its mobile empire on their tech without paying up. And they weren't asking for pocket change. Okay, so what exactly was this stolen code? It's important to get this right. Google wasn't accused of stealing the entire Java language. Nope. The fight was over something much more specific and, kind of abstract, something called APIs. And to really wrap your head around this whole case, you've got to understand what an API is. The best analogy I've heard is a restaurant menu. The menu gives you a list of dishes you can order and tells the kitchen what to make for you. It's the set of rules for communication, right? But it doesn't tell you the secret recipe for the chef's special sauce. APIs are just like that for software. They let different programs talk to each other without having to share all their secret internal code. And this is where the two sides just fundamentally disagreed. Oracle's argument was, hey, our Java APIs are like a beautifully written book. They're creative, they're organized with intent, and they should absolutely be protected by copyright. But Google came back and said, no, no, no. An API isn't a book. It's more like the labels on a filing cabinet. It's just a functional system for organizing things. It's a tool, and you can't copyright a tool like that. So you can see how this wasn't going to be a simple, quick trial. This deep disagreement kicked off an absolute legal marathon. We're talking about a fight that dragged on for more than a decade. A true roller coaster. And what a roller coaster it was. It all starts in 2010. There's a jury trial. Google seems to win. But then it gets appealed. The case just gets bounced around the court system for years. One court says one thing, another court reverses it. It was this constant back and forth that created this huge cloud of uncertainty over the entire tech industry. And it kept going until there was only one place left to go, the U.S. Supreme Court. And let's talk about the money for a second. What was on the table? We're talking billions, with a B. Oracle was looking for a payout so huge it could have completely upended Google's entire Android business. The sheer amount of money involved made this one of the biggest corporate legal battles ever. But it was never just about the money. The entire software world was watching this, just holding its breath. Why? Because if Oracle won, it could have changed everything. The common practice of reusing APIs to build new things, that could suddenly become incredibly expensive, requiring licenses for everything. It would have put a major freeze on innovation, forcing every single developer out there to completely rethink how they write code. So here we are. After a decade of fighting, a decade of uncertainty, it all comes down to this: the final word from the 9 justices of the Supreme Court. The entire tech industry is basically on the edge of its seat. So this was it, the big question. After all this time, how would they rule? Would they side with Oracle and say APIs are copyrightable creative works? Or would they go with Google and protect the freedom for developers to build on top of each other's work? And the verdict came in a decisive 6-2 ruling. Google wins. Just like that, the 10-year war was over. But what's really fascinating is how they made the decision. They actually did something very clever. They kind of sidestepped the huge, thorny question of, can you copyright an API at all? Instead, they focused on a different legal idea called fair use. Essentially, they said even if the APIs were copyrightable, what Google did was fair. Why? Because it was transformative. Google didn't just copy the code, they used those API building blocks to create something totally new and different, the entire Android platform. The justices basically said that ruling for Oracle would slam the brakes on innovation, and that would be bad for everyone.
So this decision was huge. It wasn't just about closing the book on one lawsuit. It set a massive new precedent, and the effects were going to be felt across the entire software world.
So let's break down the aftermath. What did it mean for everyone? Well, for Google, it was a home run. Android was safe, and they wouldn't have to pay Oracle a dime. For Oracle, sure, they lost the case, but they sent a clear message. Mess with our IP, and we will come after you. But the biggest winners? Probably the developers. You could almost hear a collective sigh of relief from the entire coding community. This ruling gave them the legal breathing room they needed to keep innovating and building on existing platforms. And really, that's the thing to remember here. This case was never just about Oracle and Google. It was about the very soul of how software gets made. The court's decision was a huge vote of confidence for the idea that building on the work of others isn't stealing, it's actually the foundation of progress. It was a major win for the whole collaborative spirit of software development. So, the court sided with developers. This time. This ruling was a landmark, for sure, protecting a really crucial part of how we innovate. But technology, as we all know, never stops moving. We've got new platforms, new AI models, new ways of creating things all the time. And that just makes you wonder, right? What's going to be the next big fight that defines the future of software?